Hi, welcome to my very first YouTube video for my YouTube channel, Hootie's How To. My name is Mike. I heard most videos, for first videos, are gonna suck, so I'm sure this is gonna be no exception. We had just recently moved into this house. It's got an attached 3-car garage. Today we're gonna be installing a garage heater. It's gonna be the Mr. Heater infrared heater. I'll give you the model number in a second. There was a couple reasons I chose to use this heater. We had the contractors run a gas line as well as a electric line for a heater. We were going to plan on using forced air. There was a couple reasons I chose not to go that route finally. I looked at a couple different models. The forced air ones we needed to vent obviously, and we have a room above the garage, so vertical venting wasn't possible. The heater that we bought, I got on sale at Menards. It was $350, but the venting kit for the vertical was only $100, which was fine, but the horizontal venting had to be in stainless, so that one was about $300 extra. So we chose not to go that route for the cost, as well as I would have had to drill a hole in the garage, which was going to be very hard to convince my wife to do. So with this one, we don't need to run electric because it runs off the thermostat, and we already had the gas line run, so we're just going to use that existing gas line, and we'll show you how to pipe that up as well. So stay tuned, and we will show you the model number coming up next. So this is the model we decided to go with. It's going to be a Mr. Heater. Number is going to be MH40NG for natural gas. 4,000 BTUs. Originally it said on the website that it heats up to 1,000 square feet. On the box it says it heats up to 850 square feet, which is fine for a 3-car garage that's insulated and has drywall. So we're going to get to going with this. It's not going to be a sexy unboxing video. I already unboxed it. But we're going to go over what's included and what's not included. This is what the heater looks like. You'll notice that because it's infrared, it doesn't require any venting, which was a plus for us. But like I said, I didn't want to drill a hole in the garage wall to vent it. So we'll get going here and show you what is included and what is not included that you'll have to buy extra. So this is the unit right here for the Mr. Heater infrared heater. You'll notice when you first open it up, you're going to see how it's kind of tinged with the metal. That's just because they do test it at the factory before they issue them out. So if you see this, don't be alarmed. It's just the way that it's going to be. So included in the package, obviously we have the directions. The heater itself comes with the mounting chain, the thermostat, as well as the mounting hardware to mount the chain to the actual unit. So some of the things that weren't included, which I did contact Mr. Heater about, because in the directions it shows the thermostat wire, and it makes it seem like it's included, but it's not. So I did pick up this at Home Depot. It's going to be thermostat wire, 50 feet, 18 gauge, 2-wire. That's all you need. It does reference in the manual for a number of feet that you're going away, the actual gauge wire, but 18 gauge wire was fine for my application. The other thing I did purchase was the Mr. Heater Universal Appliance Hookup Kit. That's your model number right there. So the reason I chose to go with this was just to make things simpler, because everything was included. So we'll start off with the manual. Here's the manual for the heater. If we go ahead and turn to this page, you can see this is the way that the standard hookup for the gas line is going to be. Obviously you're going to need that sediment trap. I'll show you my application. They didn't put one in when they routed the gas line, so I'll be installing that as well. This isn't going to be a video about how to hook up, how to run a gas line necessarily. I'm sure there's other videos on YouTube about doing that, but since it's already here, we're just going to jump right in. On this page, I'll show what was included. Obviously, you can see here, it did show the wire, so that's why I assumed that it did come with it. But upon opening it up, obviously I noticed that it was not included, and like I said, I contacted Mr. Heater directly, and they did state that it does not come with the wire, so that will have to be an additional purchase. So for my particular application, we're going to be using this fitting right here.
the actual gas line, which is going to be 22 inches long. And even though they did put in a shutoff, I'm going to be using the supplied shutoff for the unit as well, simply because it's the middle of winter right now. It's about 20 degrees right now. We're just outside Chicago, and it's January, so I don't feel like shutting off the heat right now by shutting off the gas. So it's not going to affect anything. Typically you won't do this because it would simply be a waste of money to put in 2 gas shutoffs, but because one was already included, I decided just to utilize it, and we're just going to go ahead and hook this up. So let's get started. So real quick, one of the other things I didn't mention, goes without saying kind of, but if you're not familiar with how to run gas pipe, we want to use a thread compound here. So we want to make sure that it's for lines carrying gas. They do have ones that are not rated for gas, but we want to make sure that it is rated for gas. And we'll go ahead and show you how to seal it. Make a tight seal. So on the back of the unit, you can see there's a little red cap. We're going to go ahead and remove that. And you'll notice the threads on the inside, so that's where that fitting is going to go. So we'll use the thread compound and put that in, and just simply tighten it up with a wrench until it's tight. Don't over tighten it, you don't need to monkey it down, but go ahead and make sure that it's snug in the fitting. So before I install it, I just want to show you, this is basically what you got to do. I probably have a little bit more on there than I need to, but as long as you don't get close to the end, basically it's just going to push out towards the back. Once it's done, you can just simply clean it up with a rag. So we'll go ahead and start screwing this in. Tighten it as much as you can by hand, make sure you don't cross thread it, and then I'll go ahead and tighten this up with a wrench. One more thing worth noting, like I said, it does come with the chain, but it does not come with the hardware to actually mount it to the ceiling, so that will have to be an additional cost as well. In my case, I did just hang our garage door opener, so I did have some slotted zinc plated angle iron left over, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to size, and we'll utilize that by finding our joists and screwing in some lag bolts. And then from there, it just has some clips on the end of the chain to connect it up to the unit, and then connect it up to the angle iron as well. So we're going to get started by mounting the hardware to the actual unit to hang it. Here's the pieces. It's a simple 4-bolt assembly with the 2 brackets. They're just going to mount to this hole here on each side and on each end. The instructions are pretty easy to follow, so just go ahead and follow the instructions. And I'm not going to go through, obviously, tightening down the bolts, so I'll just start filming again once it's all assembled, and we'll show you how it looks. Okay, so here you can see I got the brackets mounted. Like I said, there's one on each side, 4 bolts. It's going to be a 7/16 bolt and nut. Took just a couple minutes to install. So now that that's installed, we'll go ahead and get started with mounting it to the ceiling.
Okay, so we kind of jumped ahead here, just because it was going to be hard to film while I was using both hands. So what I did was I had a 6-foot length of the perforated angle iron. So I actually didn't cut it, I just left it the way it was to give me some better clearance. There is some recommended clearances in the manual, but for my application it just wasn't going to work out. So I ended up measuring 48 inches from each corner and just mounted it straight across. So there are 2 chains that come with the unit. One's about 48 inches long, the other one's about a foot long. So I chose to go with the foot long chain, so you can see there on both sides. I did already run my gas line as well. Sorry if you didn't get to see that. So basically the way it's set up is, that's that first gas valve that I had told you about, that already came with the house. I put in my trap here for the debris that's going to be coming through the line, my secondary valve, my hose,
and then that obviously connects right up to the unit. So next we'll be installing the thermostat. So as stated before, it comes with the thermostat, but it does not come with the wire. So if you look here where it's supposed to connect to the manifold for the gas, it does show with some disconnects on it. So because I had to purchase a wire, I also purchased some disconnects. If you can see there, it's just 22 gauge to 18 gauge female disconnects. So it's not mandatory, but it is an option, and it's the option that I chose to do because it's a little more easier to connect them up to the manifold the way it's set up. So if we look at the directions here, it doesn't really mark which wire is which, but if you go up on the top where you're going to hook it up to the actual manifold, you can see which wire actually goes to where. So that top wire that will be on the right side of the thermostat, that's going to be your red wire, and the one on the left is going to be your white wire. So all I did, they recommend you mount the thermostat about 5 feet above the ground. Just ran the wire up and used some cable staples and stapled it and ran it over here. So we'll walk over real quick and I'll show you what I meant by those two wires. So if you see here, you can reference which wires are which and then just trace them back to the thermostat. So it's not very complicated. We're going to go over the starting procedure now because that's going to be not complicated, but it'll be a little involved. Okay, so again, to reference, that's where your wires are going to be. White's going to be on the left and red's going to be on the right side. I just ran it up with some cable staples all the way over to the unit. So when we go to power it up, there's instructions in the manual that are actually pretty detailed. We want to keep it in the off position, turn on the gas on the shut off, let the gas run for a couple minutes. We're going to turn it from off to the pilot position. From the pilot position you can depress it, and once you depress it for a little bit you hear the gas escaping. Then you can take a match or a lighter and light the pilot. You can see the pilot's lit right there. So once the pilot's lit, we're going to come back over to the thermostat. We have the thermostat in the off position. We're going to move that over to 60. You'll hear more gas coming out. And you can see the unit starts up right away. So it's pretty silent, which is nice compared to the forced air units. Another nice thing too, especially for workshops, if you're doing a lot of woodworking and cutting and you have a lot of sawdust, it's real easy to just come up here and blow this out with a compressor, whereas if you did the forced air, a lot of the sawdust can accumulate in the fan and it decreases the life over time. So just some things to take into consideration. I'm going to see how this positioning works out, because it's not aimed directly across the garage, it's more aimed towards the front of the garage. So I'll check back in a few weeks and see how it works out. But right away you can start feeling the heat, and that's the way that the radiant heat or the infrared heat works. So it's going to heat up the objects in the room. Once the objects in the room are heated up, then it's going to start heating up the actual air in the room. So like I said, it's a good option for garages because once the concrete floor heats up, pretty much the rest of the garage heats up right away. So there that is, and the installation is complete. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something, and like I said, in comparison, if you're thinking about getting a garage heater or shop heater, that this might be a good option for you, considering the options with forced air and infrared and a few others as well. This was just the best option for me because of my situation, which I had explained also. So thank you for watching the video. If you can, please go ahead and like it if you felt that you learned something, and if you really liked it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. If you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comment section below, and I'll leave the model number and everything from the parts that I used in the description down below as well.
And if you want to get updates on my upcoming videos, go ahead and hit the bell so you can get notifications on that too. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.